Welcome to the Journey to CEO Success podcast. I'm your co-host, Melissa Saunders, along with the Patrick Thean, entrepreneur, CEO coach, and a USA Today and Wall Street Journal best-selling author. His latest book, The Journey to CEO Success, is the inspiration for this show. Hi, Patrick.
Hey, Melissa. It's a great day for our show.
And today's guest is a special one. Meet Randy Carr. He's president and CEO of World Emblem, an emphasis on world. I understand he's the world's largest patch producer. That's wild. Randy took over his dad's business in 1993 and grew the company from, get this, one embroidery machine to having the most embroidery machines in the world. And if you're wondering how many that is, that's 4,250 to be exact. For over 30 years, World Emblem has been the go-to for emblem and patches for sports headwear, footwear, garments, and other apparel. With an output, now this is crazy, Randy, 1 million emblems a day, 50% of which are made and shipped on the same day. Customers include Cintas, Levi's, Ellis, among others. Welcome, Randy. We are looking forward to your story. It sounds like an interesting one.
Well, yeah, it's got its moments. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, Randy, welcome to our show, man. Such a treat to have you on the show. We've known each other for a long time. I'd love for you to just take a few minutes, say 3-4 minutes, and share a bit about your company and yourself, just so that our audience knows you, gets to know you.
Yeah. So I'm a 52-year-old father of two. I'm married for going on 25 years. It'll be our 25-year anniversary right now. So this year, I'm very happy, very fortunate about that.
Congratulations, buddy. Congratulations.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you. It's again, like everything else, it's not without hard work. But very fortunate that I have the wife that I do. Puts up with a lot of what it takes to be an entrepreneur. The business, Melissa said a lot of it, but it started with two people, me, my dad, my brother, really three of us, in 1993. My dad had a company that went out of business a couple of years before. And he restarted it, pulled me out of school, my brother out of school, restarted the business, asked me to join it with him and just whatever. I didn't even know what I was doing. So, from that in 1993 to where we are today with over 1 million square feet of manufacturing space and 1,400 employees, it's been I would say a crazy up and down journey of, highs and super lows. And a lot of that is in the same exact day. Days where you don't know if you're going to make payroll to, I remember having Patrick's people and we were in a conference room and the budget came out and we're like, all right, we're not leaving until we figure the budget out. And I remember when I first met Patrick, in the very beginning, there was a conversation with one of your consultants and he said, plan for a year. You guys can't plan for a day. And that was my journey with rhythm. So that's how I met Patrick and your whole team and, worked with you for, I don't know, it's got to be 15 years. So, but it's been a sort of crazy journey.
So, we have a unique opportunity. Our podcast here is about helping CEOs have a wonderful, joyful, and successful life. And we have a unique opportunity with this today with you as a guest because, you're in a multi-generational company.
Yep.
And I'd love to know more about, when your dad asked you to do this, did you feel like, was it what you wanted to do? Did you have a choice? What was going on in your mind back then when that happened?
All right. So I'll give you my mindset. Okay. This is awesome. So, we had money when I was growing up. He had a good business, right? So we had money, we skied, did the whole thing. I went to university. He gave me money for books and I bought rims for my car and a bag of weed. So if it gives you context to the kind of student I was so really, I was the worst student ever. I paid no attention to anything. I was in school for a year and he calls me, he says, look, we're broke. And it wasn't like that, but it was that. So no, I didn't want to do it, and it sucked. And when I got there, it was in the summer in Medley, Florida, which is a suburb of Miami, in '94 when NAFTA was passed and the businesses were closing. So no, there was nothing good about starting the business.
Why did your dad ask you to do this?
I don't think he had any other solution to like
Mhm.
what I think like, look, I don't know the answer to that really.
Okay.
So I have to speculate that, you know, uh, he's 16 and he had a business go down, and it's, what do I do? And it was like, so we got to restart it. Like there was no, to that end, I think I put a LinkedIn post out last week. And I asked him I kept asking him, what happened? For years, I would ask him. And he never told me. So, now that I'm like 35 years going from 2 employees to 1,500, and I'm not even saying I'm experienced. Let me say this. I have experience. I'm not saying I'm good, but I'm good enough to know that I'm not good. Right. So, but I'd ask him and he never really told me because I don't think he knew. I think I know now, but I don't think he knew.
So speculate with me. What do you believe now?
All right, so I'll give you a couple answers. The first one is he was a New York kind of textile guy. So what I think he did was, he had a minion management style. So everything was him, and he'd hammer down. So he never built the leadership team. He didn't have the advantage of the data we have now too. But now looking back on the way he ran the business, it was always him. And if it wasn't him, the rest of the business wasn't running. So. We look at what we do in lean and what you do in rhythm and what we do with rhythm. And it's that systematic way of running the business. And it's getting people in the proper roles, responsibilities, having proper KPIs, proper standard work. And those are things they just didn't have. He just didn't do any of that. So, so in the minute he started to, let's say, get distracted for a longer period of time, the business fell from, but I've had 20 years of therapy to try to uncover that. No, I'm dead serious. Every other week I see a psychologist, and I got 20 years of trying to unravel that, because that's my cardinal fear. Like that's the biggest fear I have is resistance.
That's awesome. Well, thank you first of all for being vulnerable on this show and for sharing that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for asking the question.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about your vacation. How was your vacation with Amy?
So it was a half vacation, half not, right? So she has a group of friends that have a yoga retreat, and it's my first vacation with her since my kids were born. So they rented a house in Nice, and which is like I had no idea what they did, but it was 5-star all the way across the board. It was awesome. But the days they went shopping, I worked, right? So, but I'll tell you what I did do, which I found very cool. I was sitting in a restaurant in Monaco overlooking the F1 track that they were building in front of the casino all day. Yeah, it was very cool all day. But I called my office. I'm like, man, can you imagine like where technology's gone, where I'm sitting looking over this track for 8 hours and I'm getting the exact same quality of work done that I was getting in my office, arguably better. And I'm on vacation with my wife. So it's sort of pretty unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's awesome. By the way, Randy, you may not know this, but I now live in 2 cities.
Tell me.
Tell me. Because I have my base in Charlotte, but I am now in Seattle. In fact, I'm doing this podcast in Seattle, and I'm looking at, when I do this, I'm looking at Puget Sound and the water and the Olympic Mountains.
I love it.
It's beautiful. Yeah. So that's because my 2 girls are out here. So
I love it.
Joy and Nicole, they both work in Seattle now. So up here, and therefore I know exactly what you mean, right? It's like I'm in a different place.
Yeah.
I almost feel guilty, frankly, that I'm more productive here, looking at the ocean, looking at Puget Sound than at home. So
I'm in a Delta Sky Club. You're
that's great.
The point is, you can be anywhere, and as long as you have a systematic methodology, you can be anywhere and do it from anywhere, which is the best part.
That is the best part.
Yeah. So when I coach CEOs, I always ask them to draw me a pie chart of where their energy goes, and I ask them for 3 pies. I ask them like, how much time and energy goes into the business, how much goes into family, and how much goes into self. And as I was reading your post about your vacation, I was thinking that when I think about Amy, it actually goes into 2 of those pie charts. It goes into the family section, right? Because she's your wife. It also goes into the self section because it's good for you. It's actually self-care for you as well when you do this with her. So I was so happy to read about that you did that.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. So let me ask you that question, right? If you were to draw that pie chart for you, what's your percentage of energy?
It's a very easy answer.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just because of YPO and all the
Yes.
work I put into YPO and the 18 years of being a member and the work that you do, I would say 25% of it's for me.
Yes.
And I take care of me so I can take care of everything else.
Yes.
So, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I exercise, I drink water, I take care of my diet. I do all the things that I can possibly do to make sure that, that somebody else, if there's a guy that's 52 and there's me and I'm 52, I don't want that guy to compete with me. I want to win every time, right? So I make sure. So I would say 25% of it's for me.
Yeah.
I would say 25% of it's for my family. That includes my wife, and 50% of it's the business. I'm very, but in my 25%, like I said, I see a psychologist every other week. I've been doing that for 20 years. I go to my YPO forums. I don't miss them. I have one tomorrow morning. I simply don't miss.
Awesome.
I eat. I do all that. So it's about taking care of myself, so I can take care of the other 75%.
Yes. So for you guys watching and listening to this podcast, I want you to really take a strong nugget out of what Randy just said. You just said you take care of yourself so you can take care of your family and take care of everything else. And I found that a lot of business folks, a lot of entrepreneurs I've met, including myself in the early days, I felt guilty taking care of myself. I felt guilty. And then one day I began to learn that, oh my gosh, because I am the tip of the spear, the lead for the
100%.
company. And so if I'm not taking care of myself, I can't take care of anybody else. Literally, you got to put the oxygen mask on first before you can help others.
It's so Jim Rohn, right? Like Jim Rohn, he has this. It's the first book I ever read, but he says, I want to take care of me so I can take care of you, and that's everything. Like Jim Rohn, Covey, it's that whole philosophy. So,
yeah, that's very cool. So hey, back to your family. So your boys, they're coming to the business. Are you? What is your strategy there? You're giving them a choice. You're talking it through with them. They say, "Dad, I want to come work with you." I mean, what is that?
All right, so definitely giving them a choice. Like my again, the role of the business. There's no gifting in this business. It's too big. There's just too many. Like we're feeding too many mouths from customers to vendors to partners so there's just no gift. If there's going to be generational succession, it's going to be earned for the CEO job. They'll always be shareholders. So, like much like you buy a stock, you'll own the stock, you're a shareholder, you take distributions if there's money. So that's the first rule. So the second rule is, look, you can work here, you don't have to work here. You're going to get paid the same as everybody else, and you're going to work just as hard, except you're going to have the burden of the family name. He's taken that like a champ. My older one has taken it like a champ. I mean, he leaves University of Alabama, 4 years of like the greatest experience ever. Comes to work for us, and he's up at 5 a.m. on Monday. He doesn't get home till Friday night. He complains very little. He does his thing, but I think it's part of the culture that we have in the business. I think everybody's like that, and he wants to be part of the team, and we want to win. And that's just who we are as an organization, and he's fit into that. So the answer to your question, I know that was a long-winded answer, but the short answer is, the short answer is there's nothing gifted. He's part of the team, and he's got to earn his way. He gets the same KPIs the rest of my sales team has, and if he doesn't hit it, his name goes on the board. He's on the bottom of the board, and it sucks. Yeah. But everybody's there to help everybody else.
Yeah. There's a key lesson there too. What you just said, like you differentiated between owner and runner. When I say runner, I mean the person running the business.
100%.
You can be an owner and benefit from the success of the company, but you don't have to be the boss, the CEO. And frankly, it's not a good thing for your family if your son isn't the best CEO that you guys can possibly have. You're better off having a professional run the business and have your children and generations benefit from being shareholders.
Bro, there's two parts of that, because with me, there is even days where I'm questioning whether I'm any good at this, and I go to my team and I'm like, and like, look, they're going to tell me, but I also have another coach. So there's people I'm asking, like, at what point do you step back and say, all right, maybe it's time for someone else to come in? Maybe it's gotten so big. And that question goes through my head all the time. Right. So, I mean, but and with my brother, I have a brother in the business too. And there was always the question, like, you don't have to work here. You still can have the distributions. Like they're not they're mutually exclusive. So
Yes. Yeah, and I draw it out as a key lesson because I think you've been in business long enough and you've had enough success to actually see that, understand that. I think business owners sometimes confuse the three things, like equity ownership, distributions, and authority. They confuse a few things because lots of times, sometimes employees would say, "Hey, I love to have a stake in the outcome," and I've learned that sometimes when they say that, they don't really they're not asking for decision-making ability. They're asking for, equity distribution.
they
if
want the
anything.
upside. They
Yeah,
want
they
the
want the
upside.
upside. You can't give people the
downside.
damn decisions.
Dude, the decisions, the downside's the worst part.
Yeah.
I would tell people, I'm like, look, you have like a good amount of fear is not a bad thing, but when you're in a situation where you've gone through 20 years of almost not making payrolls and line of credits and customers and
Yeah.
and like the COVID shocks and all those kinds of things, and even what's happening now with the tariffs, like you go right to the end, which is I'm going broke. This is it. This is the next shoe dropping, and I've gone through that cycle, that vacuum 1,000 times. So
Yes.
like when people say they want the ups, they just want the upside. The downside is way worse than the upside.
Yeah.
I want to pause and unpack that a little bit, Randy, because you said, hey, you something bad happens or something happens and you begin to think, well, you can have a spiral going down. How do you protect your mind from that? Or how do you harness that to give you strength?
Like I said before, I've said it 3 times already. I'll say it again. 20 years there. I almost ruined my marriage and alienated my family on multiple occasions. Again, like you just don't learn about the business. You learn about yourself through this journey. So I think so you surround yourself with really good people that aren't in the business to protect yourself from that. So you can't go to your staff. In the beginning, I'd go to my staff. Are we going broke? Are we going to go broke? What are we going to do? So what ends up happening is you put that thought in their head, and that's automatically so you can't commiserate with your staff. So the answer is you got to surround yourself with some badass people. And those people are, YPO has been. I joined in 2008, and I didn't participate till like 2011. But my forum and these guys, like what you learn by a peer group of people that don't have a stake in the outcome is everybody goes through this shit all the time, and it sucks. And everyone's problems are, it doesn't matter if they're a $2 billion company or a $2 million company. All it is the bigger problem. But the reality is everybody's gone through the same stuff. They can't hire people. They make a bad hire. They don't have the right KPIs. Their computer system's a piece of shit. Like you go through all these things. So how I protect myself is a lot of therapy, a lot of gym time, a lot of books. And by the way, I'm 52. And when Trump did the tariffs on February 2nd, I didn't talk to my wife for a week. I couldn't even speak. I couldn't speak. Half my business comes out of Mexico. I'm under trade. So when he did the 25%, I couldn't talk. So it still happens to me. So
Randy, why, and maybe I missed it initially, why embroidery?
Because that's what my dad did. And he said, we have 3 embroidery machines and this is where we start, and all we did was sew names.
Yeah.
And then, and then I went and saw a company in Georgia about 4 years after. First of all, I was like, for the first 4 years, this is terrible. This sucks. And every day I was trying to say, like, there's no way I'm living my life like this. There's just no way. There's just no way. In a hot warehouse, no air conditioning in Medley, no money. We're all living in a 1-bedroom apartment in Florida. So, I went and visited a company, and they had 10 machines, but it was really dialed in. And I was like, we could probably do this. And that was like the start, and then it went from there. Then it went from there to like the internet age where if you remember 95, 96, 97 is when the .com thing really took off.
Oh yeah.
And we hitched our wagon to that real early on when no one else did, So we started to automate the business. And to this day, we still invest 10% of our revenue into technology. We're investing in generative AI, robotics, 3D printing, as much automation as you can imagine. So we still overly invest in all these things. And, one of them is going to get us to $1 billion soon.
Yeah.
So as a person watching you all these years and just looking at you, I'll share a few things that that I think you might enjoy and our audience will definitely enjoy.
Oh, they're gonna be nice. I love it. I'll take
I
it.
think you're successful because you have enough dose of ambition and humility, right? When you say, you know, am I going to be the right guy to run this business? I think you have enough humility to ask that question, but enough confidence to go, damn it, I'm doing it. You know, so I think it's a combination. I also think that you continually invest in the future. You continually, and you're not afraid to say, let's get out of our comfort zone. Let's go try this thing. Because companies and people get left behind if they're not willing to experiment,
especially now.
Try. Right. It's now and embrace. Like some of my friends asked me, hey, you know, what do I do about this AI thing? I said, what do you mean, what do you do about it? You have no choice. Like some of us act like we have a choice. Like you have a choice whether you choose to embrace AI. No, you don't have a choice. You either embrace it, move forward quickly, or it embraces you, and now you're left behind. So you don't have a choice. Like, and by the way, I've realized that a lot of guys and gals, when we run our businesses, we forget sometimes that the world moves at a certain pace. We think we can move at our own pace. Actually, we can't. We have to move at a pace the same as the world or a little bit faster.
A little bit faster, dude. A little bit faster.
Yeah, you can't just go in your own pace because the world doesn't wait for you, right?
They said, what is it? Somebody said, he goes, there's two types of businesses in 3 years from now. There's the businesses that embrace AI and the ones that are out of business.
Yeah, there are none. Yeah.
So we're not going to let, that stuff usurp us. We're going to be the ones that break our own business with the technology. So we are actively breaking our business. Like we're disrupting our business on so many different levels, specifically because we're going to be the ones that disrupt our own business model rather than have someone else do it to us.
That's right. So that's actually a great quote from Tim Cook years ago when Steve Jobs and him they built the iPad, and they were asked the question. They said, "Well, aren't you afraid that the iPad will cannibalize sales of your iPhone?" And they said, "Well, we'd rather do it to ourselves than have somebody do it to us."
100%. Maybe that's where I got it from. I honestly don't know, but like at the end of the day, like if you can't see how fast AI is changing stuff, and that's just one. Yeah. That's just one of the technologies. There's your management philosophy and rhythm that is a disruptive management philosophy, a management system, and your system is the first management system I ever put in the business. But that is disruptive inside itself. If you take it and build on that, it can change your whole architecture, and it did for us. It's what allowed us to get past that $10 million ceiling that we kept banging up against. So it doesn't have to just be technology.
So what is your dream today as you think about your company, the journey forward? What is your dream for yourself, for Randy Carr, for your family, and for the business?
All right, selfishly. Yes. And I say this, but I used to say, I hope we get to this number, and we blasted by it. I hope we get to that number, blasted by it. So there's a revenue number and there's a number, but when we did a thing. Look, the short answer is I'd like to have a house in Utah. I'd like to have a house in South Florida. I'd like to never fly coach again. It doesn't have to be private. I just don't ever. I want to be able to buy a first class ticket and not care. So if I just flew back from Berlin, I'm connecting right now, right? And I used points to upgrade, and I felt guilty about that. I don't want to have to feel that way. I want to have enough money that that's not an issue. I also want the business to be generational, so I want to be able to leave a legacy that both of my kids can be proud of. Like when I go to work every day, and I want my kid to want to be me, but a better version. I want him to be like, man, he is a baller. Like that's what I want. So I feel like I'm doing all the things to make that happen. So, and that's important to me.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, that's amazing. I've loved hearing about your journey, and generational businesses are always, I think, tough. And so you bring so much great insight here. I do have another question. And of course, this is always around lunchtime, so my stomach gets a little growly. But if we were hitting the road together in a road trip, what's that one snack that you just have to have?
Chicken.
What is it?
Chicken. My diet is unbelievably specific. I don't mess around with my food at all.
Chicken.
So chicken.
Huh.
It's chicken. It'll be chicken or fish, but I don't. You can ask anybody that knows me, and my diet is incredibly consistent.
But what's the snack? Is it like chicken jerky?
No, there's no snack. Like
there is no snack.
No, I'm not. I don't snack. I don't.
Now,
snack.
what about those like crackers that are called like chicken in a biscuit?
No, I do vegetables. We'll stop the Publix. I'll get a bag of vegetables. So it's 7 servings of vegetables a day. Like I'm very consistent with my food.
That's good.
Wow, that's good.
Your stomach is your second brain. You know, if you want your brain to fire right, you got to eat right.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, Randy, I have one interesting question for you about one thing I realized in this discussion with you is, you know, you may deal with surprises in a rather negative way, right? Like you said, if tariffs came out, you know, you didn't talk to your wife for a week. Mm-hmm. You may deal on the personal side. We got to help you get stronger and better at that because you deal with it negatively but on the business side, you've made a lot of right decisions. So I'm curious what your process is when the business gives you or when the world gives you a bad surprise. What is the process you go through to decide what the things are good? The reason why I ask is because over the years we've been through a lot with you. We've been through a lot of bad surprises. And you've always come out, you know, on top on the other side of it. So you must have a formula process that helps you go through that. Like I said, on the personal side, we got to work on that, buddy. But on the business side, you're making good decisions through crises.
Well, there's a lot of history. There's a lot of history on the Trump thing on the personal side. So, and I'm not playing politics. Yeah. But my wife was a hard like on that side, and I was like, oh man, I didn't forget about who I voted for because it's not relevant. But on the personal side, it was just because of that thing. I'm not always like that. So, but I'll say like, it's hard. It's hard. You know, we like I said, you know, in losing everything in the beginning, you know, I relive that almost every day. So, you know, my psychologist, she keeps working with me on this situation. She's like, look, man, you know, you're not everything that happened to you. You know, so everything is like going back to meditating or learning how to breathe. You know, there's times where I'll call my psychologist and I'll say, like, I can't get my head straight. I just can't get it straight. A lot of it's going to sleep. You know, getting a good night's sleep resets a lot of things too. Yeah. So when I say I didn't talk to my wife, it wasn't a week, it was 3 days. And, you know, I think like in that situation, I really just needed to be quiet because no matter what I said, it was going to be negative. And honestly, all I felt like doing was crying. Mm-hmm. So like, and there's times where I just tell her, I just want to start crying. There's just so much, it's just so much pressure that, you know, it's just so much pressure that, you know, and the bigger it gets, the harder it is, you know, because we're still betting on the future. So we're not, you know, we're not just banking money and like sitting on it. Like when President Trump did his thing, the next week I was on a plane to the Dominican Republic and we just signed a lease to build a plant there to offset what's going to happen in Mexico. Cause we believe that this isn't over. Right. So, so like the point is that like, it just gets bigger and it just gets scarier. And, you know, I think like at this point I have a better management team. We're better organized. You know, a lot of this is one saying is I've been through this before. All right. I've been through this before. All right. I've seen this before. Oh, this looks familiar. This looks familiar to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. And like, you know, so you're not reliving what happened to your dad. You know, you make your own future. So it's a lot of that.
And so your business process though, your process is you work with your team.
Oh yeah. All right. Yeah. So sorry, I didn't answer your question.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I'll get on the phone right away, dude. Like when that stuff started happening, I was on my YPO forum retreat and I was on the phone with my guys going, look, the tariffs are happening. We got to start planning. We'll have plan A, B, and C. If we didn't know we didn't know what it was going to be. So it was all right. Let's plan for 100% tariff and an 85% revenue drop. And let's go all the way up. And everyone's like, you know, a lot of my leadership was like, all right, we can do this. Some were like, look, we can't run the department with that many people. Well, you're going to have to. Like, I don't know what to tell you, like, because we're going to be half the size. So it's like, So it's a lot of that, but I have a good leadership team that has the same level of intensity to us, but it really is, it's getting on the phone, acting like it's going to happen, and having a plan. And then whatever he did, we pulled paper out of the drawer and we're like, all right, this is what he did. Let's get to work.
Yes. Smart.
And, you know, again, like I made a comment to you earlier, I just want to repeat it. Like, you know, I want to be somebody that my kids are proud of, right? So when I'm in front of my team and my staff, what they see is this. You know, they see confidence. They see we have a plan. They're not seeing, you know, the guy that wants to go in his bed and cry. They're not seeing that. My wife sees that.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, like, so it's a lot of that. But I mean, the reality is, you know, I communicate really well with my team. During COVID, we were having 3-day meetings. So, you know, I think it's a lot of that.
Cool. Good. Hey, my last question, and I ask all my guests this question because this podcast is about helping people, helping CEOs have a more joyful and successful life. So what advice would you like to, or can you give to our audience for them to have a more joyful and successful life?
All right. Somebody asked me this before, and my answer is going to be the same. Well, it's two. There's two. One is it's going to be okay. Like, no matter what happens, it's going to be okay. Like, you know, I got to remind myself it's going to be okay. You've seen this before. It's going to be okay. So, you know, I think what I try to do, like I said, is to take care of myself so I can take care of everybody else. That's a big one. And I think the biggest one is to surround yourself with a peer group that you can rely on. Like YPO has been, and if you know, if it's not YPO, then it's EO. If it's not EO, it's Vistage.
Yeah.
You know, you can't commiserate with your friends and you can't commiserate with your staff. You got to find a group of people that you can commiserate with and talk to about, because most people have been through stuff before, and after a while, it's all repetitious.
Yes.
Yeah.
Randy, thank you so much, buddy.
Yeah, it was a really great
Thank you.
interview. I thank you
My
for
pleasure.
being
It's my
so
pleasure.
vulnerable and
What?
really sharing so much about it. That was amazing. So
I'm just happy to see you guys. So yeah, I'm just happy to see you guys. So
you are awesome, and
thank
what
you.
a
So are you.
great story.
Thank you so much.
So we want to thank you. Thank you, Patrick, for being here. And until next time, go out there and enjoy your journey. Bye.
Thank you.